Welcome back to James Pigeon, and today I'm going to be explaining this science fiction Iceberg, which I found on Reddit, posted by u/nucpix. Now, I know I haven't really talked about it, but I'm a pretty large science fiction enjoyer, so if the viewers want more sci-fi related videos, let me know. But first, if you don't know what an iceberg is, it's a chart with the more well-known stuff at the top and the more obscure stuff at the bottom. So let's just get into it. And remember, God loves you. Level 1, Marty McFly. Frankenstein. Frankenstein, full title Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus, is an 1818 novel by Mary Shelley, which is usually considered to be the first popular work of science fiction, probably why it's so high up on this iceberg. In the book, the titular Dr. Victor Frankenstein becomes obsessed with the idea of creating life, so he builds a man out of dead body parts who's named Adam. This monster is what people refer to as Frankenstein, although his real name should be Frankenstein's monster if you wanted to humanize him, or Adam if you're being nice. Anyway, Adam runs away and is horrified by people's reaction to him. He's not a mindless monster, he's basically just a guy, and he tries to befriend people, but he's chased away. So eventually he turns to rage instead of seeking future acceptance. Star Wars. Star Wars is a film series created in 1977 by George Lucas, and it's probably the most commercially successful sci-fi property in history at this point. Star Wars is pretty soft sci-fi, however, and it's often considered more like a fantasy story in a space setting. Side note, the terms soft and hard sci-fi you might see. Hard sci-fi is a story that is concerned with the scientific implications of the plot and generally tries to be very accurate, using only technologies that is realistic or could exist, even if it has a plot. It's more focused on the science, and ultra-hard sci-fi is only things that are proven to exist. And then soft sci-fi is more fantastical elements, more focused on emotion and narrative as opposed to being accurate. But Star Wars tells the story of, at its core, one family, the Skywalkers, and how they tie into the ultimate fate of the galaxy. A boy named Luke Skywalker discovers that he is capable of using the Force, a mysterious substance that enables those in tune with it to have superpowers. He then uses these powers with the help of his friends to foil the scheme of the imperialist villain Darth Vader, who is trying to consolidate military control in the galaxy. It has since spawned 9 mainline films, along with numerous spin-offs, television shows, books, comics, video games, toys. It's famous for having one of the deepest world building of any sci-fi universe, with thousands of pages of lore on side characters who show up once. No exaggeration, if there's a guy who is in the background of a scene in Phantom Menace for over 3 seconds, there is a 90% chance that there is a Wikipedia entry about him detailing his entire life story. WALL-E. WALL-E is a standalone 2008 Disney Pixar film about a robot named WALL-E. And for an animated children's movie, the premise is pretty dark. Basically, the entire Earth has become so polluted and filled with literal trash and garbage that it's uninhabitable, leading to a massive corporation called By and Large evacuating people from Earth in a giant spaceship that cares for their every needs, turning humans into fat, immobile dopamine receptors, basically, who are trying to fly to another planet. And WALL-E, the titular character, is a garbage collecting robot who was left on Earth to maybe clean up some trash, and he falls in love with another robot named Eve, who is sent to Earth as well, and they try to save the people from the ship. It's considered possibly the best Disney Pixar film, and it has a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, 8.4 out of 10 on IMDb, so considered to be very high quality. Halo. Halo is a video game series started in 2001 from Bungie and Microsoft. Essentially, in the 26th century, humans are fighting aliens, and the main character, Master Chief John 117, known simply as Master Chief, is a super soldier in the war. An ancient civilization has built these massive megastructures called Halo, which are basically giant rings that can wreak unimaginable destruction on a species, and there have been 12 mainline games and numerous spin-offs into other media. Halo is considered to be one of the most iconic video games ever made, and probably the most iconic Xbox game. Transformers. Transformers is a multimedia IP created in 1984 as a line of action figures. Since then, there have been television shows, an incredibly successful film series, and much more. The basic plot of Transformers is that there was a planet of robots called Cybertron, but it got destroyed, so the refugees came to Earth. But this planet was home to two opposing races, the good guys, who are called Autobots, and the bad guys, who are called Decepticons, and they continue their eternal war here on Earth. The gimmick is that the robots can transform their bodies to become machines such as a car, airplane, or dinosaur, so maybe they started running out of ideas, but... Star Trek. Star Trek is an incredibly successful multi-show collection of television series started in 1966 by Gene Roddenberry and has now expanded into movies, toys, much more, along with the TV shows which are still ongoing. Star Trek is traditionally considered to be a rival of Star Wars, with the fans fighting each other. Star Wars fans generally stereotyped as more childish, liking the soft sci-fi with the fight scenes, while the Star Trek fans are stereotyped as being more nerds, sitting through thousands of hours of episodes about complex ethical and scientific issues, memorizing a lot of lore. The basic plot of the original Star Trek show follows the crew of a faster-than-light ship called the USS Enterprise in the 23rd century, which has been tasked with charting and studying unknown regions of the galaxy. At this point, there have been 12 main series and 14 movies. Star Wars may have the most off-screen world building, but in terms of the sheer amount of on-screen content, Star Trek is hard to beat. Doctor Who. Doctor Who is a television series started in 1963 by Sidney Newman. It has 892 episodes to date, which is normal by American standards, but for a British show, that is an incredible number of episodes. It follows a magical spaceman known as Doctor Who conveniently shifts into a new body every couple of seasons, who takes people across time and space in his magical phone booth. And unlike Star Trek, the original series is still ongoing, approaching 27 seasons and the 16th Doctor. However, it's been accused of quality drops over the years, with certain seasons being pretty bad. 97 episodes are also lost media. War of the Worlds. War of the Worlds is an 1898 novel by H.G. Wells, considered the first popular alien invasion story. It follows an unnamed lad from Surrey trying to survive an alien invasion of Earth carried out by Martians with hyper-advanced technology. The concept of Martians in science fiction has long been used as an easy trope. Mars is our closest planet, arguably the planet most similar to us. Its red silhouette visible in the night sky to all of Earth's peoples. It was conceivable that this most similar sister planet had people of her own, which many worried would try to conquer Earth. However, the trope of intelligent aliens from Mars has almost vanished since we got surface photographs in 1976, showing that it was in fact a lifeless desert. I guess we got lucky. Back to the Future. Back to the Future is a film series created in 1985 by Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale. It has since cemented itself as one of the most defining fixtures of soft science fiction enjoyed by the masses, as well as being instantly associated with the 1980s. In many ways embodying the decade, although most of the movie is set in the 1950s. It follows a boy, Martin, who, with the aid of a mysterious scientist named Dr. Brown, travels 30 years back in time to his hometown and is caught up in the lives of his family when they were his own age. 2 more films were made, sending him 30 years into the future and 100 years into the past, respectively. The time travel in the movie is not considered to be scientifically sound. Marvel. Marvel is a multimedia franchise which started as a comic book series created by Martin Goodman in 1939. It has since produced over 57,000 comics, 37 films, over 100 novels, and countless other television shows, toy lines, and more. The Marvel Universe has many characters and storylines, so many in fact that they had to create hundreds of canon alternate universes to get out of numerous plot contradictions. Its most famous characters are probably Iron Man, Spider-Man, Thor, Captain America, and Hulk, but there are literally over 80,000 named characters logged on the Marvel Wiki. At first, I didn't really consider Marvel science fiction, but there are actually a lot of sci-fi elements, but the works are so broad I can't really give a plot summary. It's basically just superheroes against supervillains. E.T. E.T. the Extraterrestrial is a 1982 film by Steven Spielberg. It is very highly rated with a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. It is also considered to be an iconic and defining film of the 1980s. The plot follows an alien who crash lands in suburban California and is taken in and cared for by a young boy named Elliot. However, they have to save him from the government and return him to his home planet. The main theme of the movie is the mutual love between the alien and the boy. No sequel has been released to date. Detective Comics is a multimedia franchise started as a comic series in 1934 by Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson. It has since produced over 50,000 comics and 53 films. DC is the main rival to Marvel, although Marvel has been a lot more successful recently, especially with the MCU. DC has tried to cook on a cinematic universe, but it's pretty mid. It doesn't really have a main plot. There's just so much, but the most famous heroes are Batman, Superman, The Flash, Wonder Woman, and Green Lantern. Personally, I prefer DC to Marvel, but they both have their strengths and weaknesses. Level 2, Doom Guy. Stargate. Stargate is a multimedia franchise started with the 1994 film by Ronald Emmerich and Dean Devlin. It has since spawned television shows and more content. Basically, in Egypt, some guys find an ancient portal that can instantly transport you across space. They go through it to another planet ruled by a despotic king who holds the only keys to their escape. The Stargate is one of the main popular methods of portraying faster-than-light travel, besides from the warp drive and wormholes. Predator. Predator is a film series started in 1987 by Jim and John Thomas and John McTiernan. It has since spawned 7 films. Basically, a group of American Special Forces soldiers get sent to Guatemala for a mission, but when they get to the jungle, they realize that they're being hunted by an alien called the Predator, who is, it seems, a hunter himself and almost designed for hunting people. The film is considered a defining movie of its decade, and it's basically action mixed with science fiction. Little Shop of Horrors. Little Shop of Horrors is a 1960 film created by Roger Corman, which inspired a 1982 musical and a 1986 film, all by the same name. The film was shot in 2 days on a budget of $22,500 and interestingly features one of Jack Nicholson's very first appearances. Essentially, a down-on-his-luck, hopeless romantic plant shop worker named Seymour finds a plant who can only be fed with human flesh, which causes it to grow larger and hungrier. Mass Effect. Mass Effect is a multimedia franchise started with the 2007 video game from BioWare. It follows one commander, Shepard, who discovers an alien plot to destroy all life in the galaxy. She must then fight them with her team. This is involving humans and various aliens, ships, and different settings. X-Files. X-Files is a television show created in 1993 by Chris Carter. It ran for 11 seasons on and off from 1993 to 2018. The show follows a group of FBI agents who tackle cases that involve supernatural or science fiction occurrences. It's well known for its iconic theme music, which has become known as the Illuminati music in old dank meme culture. Doom. Doom is a video game created in 1993 by ID. 7 games have since released. Doom was considered a massive innovation for computer games due to how realistic it was for the time, and it caused a lot of concern from parents about starting violence. The game follows an unnamed protagonist as he kills demons on the moons of Mars and then in literal hell. Alien. Alien is a film series started in 1979 by Ridley Scott. It has since produced 9 films, including a crossover with Predator. It's also considered to be a horror movie mixed with science fiction. It follows the crew of a spaceship that investigates a distressed ship, and they find unspeakable horrors, that being a hostile, parasitic alien. StarCraft. StarCraft is a video game created in 1998 by Blizzard. It is a very popular strategy game where you have to manage resources and defend your base from attack. The game has a sci-fi setting, but there is actually lore. There are three races, any of which you can play as. The Terrans are the result of a failed human colony and are basically just the indomitable human spirit meme, but as their entire personality. The Protoss are aliens from long ago that call themselves the Firstborn. They have advanced technology, psychic powers, and essentially hold themselves as a superior race. And then the Zerg are insectoid aliens that driven themselves to genetic perfection. They mutate like bacteria and they swarm the entire galaxy. Portal. Portal is a video game series started in 2007 by Valve. It is considered to be a very good video game and it has garnered a lot of popularity within internet culture. The game follows a medical test subject named Chell who wakes up mysteriously in a laboratory and is forced to work through a series of puzzles designed by a computer called GLaDOS. Chell has a gun which can shoot portals that grant teleportation, which is often a key part of solving the puzzle. Gundam. Gundam is a multimedia franchise created as a television show in 1979 by Yoshiyuki Tomino. It has since branched out into action figures, films, and more. It follows a giant robot named Gundam along with his spaceship friends as they participate in a war between Earth and a planet named Zeon. 1984. 1984 is a 1949 dystopian novel by George Orwell. In the future year of 1984, the world has been divided between three superstates, Oceania, East Asia, and Eurasia, who are all ruled by a bizarre totalitarian ideology that follows the aesthetics of Stalinism. Oceania, where the protagonist, Winston, lives, is governed by a party named Ingsoc. Ingsoc has a system of mass surveillance, but their main way of control is through manipulating facts, language, and the truth. They force the people to believe contradictions, and they invented a new language called nucpix, which is a modified form of English that makes it hard to communicate. They are controlled by a voice called Big Brother. Ingsoc is in an eternal war with the other two countries, although it's hard to know how much of the world building is real and how much of it is lies by Ingsoc. Mega Man. Mega Man is a video game series started in 1987 by Capcom. By now, there are over 50 games, and it is considered to be a very iconic and successful series, an icon of the NES. The game follows a powerful robot known as Mega Man, who is tasked with defeating a mad scientist that has captured 6 other robots and used them to take over the world. The Matrix. The Matrix is a film series started in 1999 by the Wachowski siblings. The series has 4 films. It follows a guy named Neo who realizes that he does not live in reality, but in fact inside of a computer simulation, while his body is being harvested for energy by an advanced AI civilization that took over Earth long ago after a major war. Avatar. Avatar is a film series started in 2009 by James Cameron, which is the highest grossing film of all time. So far, only 2 films have released, but apparently 5 are planned, the last one releasing in 2031, when Cameron will be 77 years old. The film follows an American soldier named Jake Sully who is in the 22nd century and is sent to militarily conquer the lush moon of Pandora, which is already inhabited by intelligent life. Although they are as smart as humans, their technology is primitive, and they eschew development, relying on nature instead. Jake Sully is put into a machine that creates an avatar for him, essentially allowing him to go into the body of one of the aliens and live among them, being conflicted between his love for the aliens and his loyalty to the army. Astro Boy. Astro Boy is a Japanese manga created by Osamu Tezuka in 1951. It has since produced a television show, video game, and film. The book follows a robotic boy named Astro who was created by a scientist named Tenma. He is tasked with just being a hero, upholding justice, and navigating his life as a robot in a human world. Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty is an animated television show created in 2013 by Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland, which continues to this day. It is considered to be a very creative sitcom, and it used to be really funny, but everyone agrees it's kind of mid now. It follows a boy named Morty and his grandfather Rick, a mad scientist, as they go on escapades throughout the galaxy. The Hunger Games. The Hunger Games is a book series created in 2008 by Suzanne Collins that has since produced 5 young adult novels. The novel follows Katniss Everdeen, an inhabitant of a post-apocalyptic United States in which impoverished rural districts are beholden to a technologically advanced capital, and every year the capital has a game where 2 children from each district come there to kill each other on live television, the last one standing being the winner. Cthulhu Mythos. The Cthulhu Mythos is a world-building project started in 1928 by H.P. Lovecraft. It is considered foundational to the genre of cosmic horror. The original 1928 story follows a man named Francis as he discovers a cult that worships an ancient, unfathomable, cosmic entity known as Cthulhu. The mythos features not only Cthulhu, but other unspeakable cosmic horrors that break human sanity with their sheer size and power. The Cthulhu mythos is thought to be the cultural ancestor of the Gorefield or Dark Garfield lore. There's a complete pantheon of strange and cruel gods created by Lovecraft and following authors. Howard Lovecraft was an atheist, and he felt that humans were utterly insignificant and useless compared to the vastness of the universe. He wanted to write stories that can make other people feel that way. Kind of succeeds. Bit dark for me, honestly. Space Invaders. Space Invaders is a video game created in 1978 by Taito. The game is simple. You, a moving gun, have to shoot waves of aliens before they reach Earth. I don't think there's lore. It's just a generic alien invasion story. The Terminator. Terminator is a film series created in 1984 by James Cameron. The 80s and 90s were possibly peak decades for science fiction films after looking at this iceberg, but 6 films have been released in the series. It follows a woman named Sarah who has to escape a robot killing machine known as the Terminator, who is hell-bent on terminating her. The Terminator was sent from the future to kill her because her unborn son will be the leader in a war between robots and humans. Level 3. Rintaro Okabe. Destiny. Destiny is a video game series started in 2014 by Bungie. 1 sequel has been released to date. It follows a guardian, someone who has to protect Earth from aliens using an ability called the Light that was granted by a mysterious entity called the Traveler. They have to protect the remains of Earth's fallen Golden Age civilization from numerous alien races intent on conquest and destruction. Warhammer 40k. Warhammer 40k is a multimedia franchise created as a tabletop wargame in 1987 by Rick Priestley. It has since spawned further board games, video games, and vast amounts of lore and world building. Taking place 38,000 years in the future, the series follows various alien empires that battle constantly for survival in an extremely grim reality. You have the Imperium of Man, which is the empire of the humans. It's extremely authoritarian, hierarchical, and militaristic, and they served a 10,000-year-old psychically powered emperor. The Imperium utilizes heavily engineered soldiers known as Space Marines, as well as regular infantry. You have the Chaos Demons, who are literal eldritch gods that have raised massive armies to conquer the galaxy, and you have the Xenos, who are just various warring factions of aliens and also want to conquer everything, and all of these guys are locked into an eternal multi-sided war. Fifth Element. The Fifth Element is a 1997 film created by Luc Besson. It is set in the 23rd century and follows a taxi driver named Corbin who has to, with the help of a mysterious woman, prevent a giant ball of fire from destroying the Earth. To do this, they need to find a group of 4 mysterious stones representing elements in order to stave off the threat. Battlestar Galactica. Battlestar Galactica is a television series created in 1978 by Glenn Larson. Several films and television shows have since been released after the cancellation of the original run. The show follows the crew of the last surviving human battleship after a very large human civilization was destroyed by aliens. They try to make it back to a mysterious, hallowed planet known as Earth. Blade Runner. Blade Runner is a film created in 1982 by Hampton Fancher, David Peoples, and Ridley Scott, which has received one sequel despite being very successful. The movie follows an aging police officer who has to track down and destroy 4 rogue replicants who have hijacked a spaceship and come to Earth. They are robots that replicate humans almost indistinguishably, raising many ethical questions, especially as the main character, Deckard, falls in love with one. Inception. Inception is a 2010 film created by Christopher Nolan. The film is very iconic and considered to be very good, 87% Rotten Tomatoes, and considered to have a confusing plot. It follows a man named Dom who has the ability to go into other people's dreams and steal their secrets, but he's given a very crazy assignment that involves putting an idea into someone's mind instead of taking it out. Metal Gear. Metal Gear is a video game series created in 1987 by Hideo Kojima. 11 games have since released as part of the main series. The game follows a stealth expert known as Solid Snake who has to break into a secure compound to save his friend and destroy a very dangerous weapon known as the Metal Gear. It is considered to be a very impactful and high-quality game. Space Odyssey. 2001: A Space Odyssey is a 1968 film created by Stanley Kubrick. A novel by the same name was created at the same time by Arthur Clarke, but the novel was released slightly later. The epic film, yes, 2 hours was considered an epic back then, follows several vignettes across time, but especially a space mission in the future year of 2001, led by Dave Bowman and the AI computer on his ship, HAL. The film is honestly pretty difficult to summarize, so I'll just leave you to watch it. It is considered to be one of the best and most original films ever released. Ender's Game. Ender's Game is a book series started in 1985 by Orson Scott Card. It has since seen the release of 16 novels, 13 short stories, 47 comics, a radio drama, and a film. It is very popular to read in middle schools for some reason, and it has won many awards. It follows a boy named Ender with special abilities who is sent to train with the military to fight aliens, and does very well in set training. Later books explore the war itself and other things in the universe. The Thing. Who Goes There is a 1938 short story by John W. Campbell which inspired 2 films, The Thing from Another World in 1951 and The Thing in 1982. It also is the inspiration for the popular 2018 video game Among Us. The story follows a team of scientists in Antarctica who find a frozen, shape-shifting alien. The alien could be any of them, so paranoia ensues as they are in a closed environment, anyone leaving the research station facing a death to the cold, but anyone staying inside facing the alien. Neon Genesis Evangelion. Neon Genesis Evangelion is a Japanese anime created in 1995 by Gainax. It has become famed for its theme song, as well as its supposed emotional intensity, although the original series only ran for 26 episodes. The show follows a boy named Shinji, who has to operate a giant mech suit called the Evangelion in order to fight monsters in a post-apocalyptic world. Dune. Dune is a book series created in 1965 by Frank Herbert, considered to be a science fiction rival to Lord of the Rings. The Dune universe has 26 novels, but there are 6 main books written by Herbert. It has also recently become a very popular movie. Dune is pretty soft science fiction, and it focuses heavily on politics, war, and religion. It is implied that human technology has stagnated for potentially thousands of years, leading to an almost medieval feel. People fight with hand-to-hand combat, for example, something that the film leans into. The story follows the Atreides family, who are given the desert planet of Arrakis as a fiefdom by the Emperor, the planet being incredibly valuable because it holds a magical substance known as spice, which allows for faster-than-light travel. The main character of the first book, Paul Atreides, becomes sympathetic to the native people of Dune, and his loyalties are tested as war and political intrigue spans the galaxy. The Little Prince. The Little Prince is a 1943 book by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, which has been extremely successful and translated into 571 languages, being, for some reason, the second most translated book of all time behind the Bible. The story follows a crash-landed pilot who meets a young boy, a little prince, if you will, from another planet, who tells him about his travels to distant galaxies and planets, and the pilot tells him numerous life lessons and emotional guidances. XCOM. XCOM is a video game series started with the 1994 game UFO Enemy Unknown by Mythos Games and Microprose. It now has over 15 games and has been very successful. The game follows an international super team known as XCOM who have to save the Earth from an alien invasion. The game is a manager game and a strategy game where you have to strategically manage XCOM's assets to counter the aliens. Firefly. Firefly was a short-lived television series created in 2002 by Joss Whedon. Despite only having 14 episodes, they were extremely highly rated, and it was considered to be a critical success and a key example of networks tampering with good shows. It follows the crew of a 26th century spaceship as they move around the galaxy trying to live with the repercussions and traumas of a recent civil war. Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop was a short-lived anime created in 1998 by Shinichiro Watanabe. It's considered to be extremely good, with 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, but only 26 episodes were ever released. Set in the year 2071, the show follows a wild western aesthetic despite taking place in space. It centers on a group of bounty hunters who track down criminals across the solar system. Netflix made a live-action remake of the show in 2021, but it was reviled and only ran for 10 episodes. Red Dwarf. Red Dwarf is a spoof television series created in 1988 by Doug Naylor and Rob Grant, among others. It ran until 1999 and is considered of high quality with 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. The show follows a repairman named Dave who wakes up from suspended animation on a mining ship 3 million years after everyone else died from a radiation leak, his only companions being the malfunctioning ship AI, a hologram recreation of an old friend, and a humanoid species that his cat evolved into. The episodes have him traveling the galaxy and doing various hijinks. Stellaris. Stellaris is a map-based grand strategy game created by Paradox in 2016. It functions just as any other Paradox map game, but in space. There's not really much lore to the game. It's up to the player to create their own story for the fate of the galaxy. Metroid. Metroid is a video game series created in 1986 by Nintendo. To date, over 15 games have been released under the name. The game follows an engineered bounty hunter named Samus, who must infiltrate a planet to defeat space pirates and recapture life forms known as Metroids, whom the pirates wanted to use as weapons. iRobot. iRobot is a short story collection published by Isaac Asimov in 1950. The stories follow a psychologist named Susan who interviews robots to understand their ethics. The stories are about different things, but generally are about the ethics and possible complications of artificial intelligence. The book also defined Asimov's 3 laws of robotics, which are meant to ensure good conduct between humans and robots, but often go awry. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is an 1870 novel by Jules Verne. The story follows 3 men, Aronnax, Conseil, and Ned, who are captured by a mad scientist named Captain Nemo as he travels deep into the ocean using his submarine, encountering many undersea wonders. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is a 5-book series created in 1979 by Douglas Adams. It is a comedy, and it is considered to be a very high quality of humor. The book follows a random guy from England named Arthur, who gets coincidentally pretty much saved from Earth by an alien named Ford when it's destroyed by a different race of aliens to build a highway, and hitchhikes his way onto a ship where he meets many alien and robot friends. The book is named after The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, an in-universe encyclopedia of the galaxy that tells you all you need to know for travel purposes. Starship Troopers. Starship Troopers is a military novel created in 1959 by Robert Heinlein. created as a reaction to the U.S. Suspending nuclear tests. The book follows a soldier named Johnny who joins the military and fights against insectoid aliens. It shows him rising through the ranks and fighting in numerous battles. Code Geass. Code Geass is an anime created in 2006 by Goro Taniguchi and Ichiro Okuchi. It is set in a dystopian future in which Britain has conquered Japan and suppressed all of the local rights, oppressing the populace with robotic weapons called nightmares. Geass is a supernatural ability you can get in this world that allows you to make people do whatever you want by looking in their eyes, but you can only do it once. And it follows Leilouch, who wants to conquer everything, and Susaku, who wants to be more noble. Galaga. Galaga is a video game created in 1981 by Namco. You play as a spaceship who has to shoot other spaceships. The game follows Commander Yeager from the United Galaxy Space Force, who has the ability to jump dimensions in order to fight against an invading alien race called the Galaga. The intergalactic war between humanity and the Galaga has been ongoing since 2279. Judge Dredd. Judge Dredd is a character from the comic anthology 2000 AD, which was created in 1977 by John Wagner and Carlos Ezquerra. Dredd lives in a dystopian metropolis called Mega City 1, in which, in order to combat crime, powerful individuals have been given the power to enforce justice how they see fit on the spot without trial. Unfortunately, the judges got too silly and overthrew the president. Judge Dredd is one of these judges, obviously, and it just involves him doing his job. Steins Gate. Steins Gate is a video game created in 2009 by 5PB. It is a visual novel following a student named Rintaro who discovers time travel with his friends. Eventually, they expand their time travel discoveries while also trying to avoid a secret agency known as CERN. The game explores the ethical problems of time travel, among other things. The Time Machine. The Time Machine is a novel created in 1895 by H.G. Wells. It follows a scientist who travels 802,701 years into the future. He finds a bizarre and horrifying society split between species called Eloi and Morlocks, and eventually keeps going forward until he comes back around. It is considered foundational to time travel fiction. The story was portrayed beautifully in the 2010 Futurama episode, Season 6, Episode 7, The Late Philip J. Fry, which I would consider to be the best of the entire show. Layer 4, Second Foundation. Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell is a manga created in 1989 by Masamune Shirow that has since been made into several successful films. It follows a special operations team led by Motoko. In the world of Ghost in the Shell, there are many cybernetic enhancements and a sentient AI known as the Puppet Master. The narrative explores the concept of the soul and technology. Neuromancer. Neuromancer is a novel created in 1984 by William Gibson. It was written in an intentionally confusing style, making it very hard to read. A favorite of Redditors, the book follows a hacker named Case who, with the aid of his friends Molly and Peter, commits various cybercrimes, essentially. Earthbound. Earthbound is a video game created in 1994 by HAL Laboratory. The game was a commercial failure, but considered to be a critical success in retrospect, a classic JRPG. The game follows a boy named Ness who discovers an alien from a meteor, which warns him of Earth's imminent destruction at the hands of an extra-dimensional being, and in order to stop it, they must find several mystical locations on Earth. Stalker. Stalker is a video game series created in 2007 by CSG Game World, which has since seen 4 mainline games released. The original game follows a man who finds himself as a stalker, a drifter in the Chernobyl exclusion zone, who has somehow suffered a second greater catastrophe. The exclusion zone has bizarre mutated creatures and different factions of people, which must be navigated. Pretty similar to Fallout, but a lot darker, more realistic. FTL. FTL, Faster Than Light, is a roguelike video game created in 2012 by Subset Games. It's considered to be a decent to good game, and it's been called a Star Trek simulator. The game has you in command of a Galactic Federation spaceship, and you're tasked with delivering a vital piece of intel to military leaders to stop rebellion as you maintain your ship. The Culture. The Culture is a book series created in 1987 by Ian Banks. 10 novels were released between 1987 and 2012 before his tragic death from cancer at age 59. The novels do not have one big through line, but instead are unified by their setting. A galaxy that is inhabited by the Culture, a utopian post-scarcity civilization with humans, aliens, and sentient AIs that inhabit drones. The Culture is an anarchist society, Banks operating on the assumption that the main cause of human conflict was scarcity, so without resource scarcity of any kind, government would not be necessary. The plot of the first book, Consider Phlebas, follows a military commander fighting against the Culture who has to infiltrate a Culture base, going through space and considering ethical questions. Foundation. Foundation is a book series created in 1951 by Isaac Asimov. The 3 novels are considered to be extremely bad, with Asimov's dialogue apparently being terrible. The book follows a man named Hari, who lives in the 12,000-year-old galactic empire as it is about to fall into what he predicts to be a 30,000-year dark age. Because of that, it's a foundation to save galactic knowledge and truncate the potential dark age by at least 97%. Space Dandy. Space Dandy is a critically acclaimed anime created in 2014 by Shinichiro Watanabe. It follows a slick guy named Dandy who is paid a reward for discovering new species of aliens, and does this while competing against other alien hunters. Animorphs. Animorphs is a children's book series created in 1996 by Catherine Applegate and Michael Grant. Although it was only produced for 5 years, over 60 books were released. The books have gained a recent interest on the internet due to their very funny-looking covers, which have a horribly aged computer animation. The series follows 6 children who have the power to shapeshift into any animal as they go on a quest to defeat a species of parasitic aliens that are attacking the Earth. Cloud Atlas. Cloud Atlas is a novel created in 2004 by David Mitchell. It has a very complex storyline spanning centuries. The book follows several main characters who are implied to be reincarnations of one soul. The main stories are about a composer, a publisher, a cyborg, and a post-apocalyptic tribesman, and the ways in which they are interconnected across time. Babylon 5. Babylon 5 is a dramatic television series created in 1994 by J. Michael Straczynski. It follows residents of a 5-mile-long space station called Babylon 5 as they navigate personal drama. The show also heavily features politics and the tense relations between 2 complex civilizations. EVE Online. EVE Online is an MMO video game created in 2003 by Stephen Gennard. Essentially, humanity used a wormhole to colonize another galaxy called New Eden, but the wormhole collapsed, so now they're stranded away from the Milky Way, living in isolation and competition for resources as factions and empires emerge. Mystery Science Theater 3000. Mystery Science Theater 3000 is a television show created in 1988 by Joel Hodgson. The show was basically those YouTubers who make fun of bad movies, but 17 years before YouTube was invented. A janitor is trapped by mad scientists on a satellite, but for some reason, they force him to watch real-life B-movies, comedically low-budget and low-quality films, usually from the 60s or earlier. The man and his robot companions mock the movies and talk over them with jokes, as well as perform skits during the intermission. Gattaca. Gattaca is a film created in 1997 by Andrew Nicole. In a dystopian world, humans are heavily genetically engineered, with those who are born in the traditional way being called invalids, and those who are engineered being called valids. The film follows an invalid named Vincent who scams his way into a space program called Gattaca using the DNA of a valid, essentially, committing identity theft. But someone might have found out. Ace Combat. Ace Combat is a video game series created in 1995 by Bandai Namco. 21 games have since released. The game follows a mercenary known as Phoenix, leader of a for-hire fighter jet squadron called the Scarface Squad, who is hired to fight against rebellion on behalf of a fictional nation. The Martian. The Martian is a novel created in 2011 by Andy Weir. The book follows an astronaut named Mark, who is left stranded on Mars and has to survive until a ship can come to rescue him. It's basically a science fiction Robinsonade, which is very interesting. Robinson Crusoe on Mars is how I would describe it. It has since been made into a very successful film adaptation. War Games. War Games is a film created in 1983 by John Badham, Lawrence Lasker, and Walter Parks. It follows a high schooler named David who accidentally hacks the US military's nuclear-equipped supercomputer and, thinking he's playing a video game, almost starts World War III, which he must avoid. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is a book created in 1886 by Robert Louis Stevenson. The book follows an investigator named Gabriel who is investigating the strange behavior of his friend, the scientist Dr. Jekyll, and a vile criminal known as Mr. Hyde. And spoiler alert, Dr. Jekyll invented a potion which allows him to transform into Mr. Hyde and exercise his dark impulses. The Rocky Horror Picture Show. The Rocky Horror Show is a musical created in 1973 by Richard O'Brien. It was made into a cult classic film adaptation in 1975, a commercial failure, but a since critical success. It follows a man and his girlfriend who find themselves at the estate of a mad scientist who shows them many strange things, not really having much of a plot. Haruhi Suzumiya. Haruhi Suzumiya is a Japanese novel series created in 2003 by Nagaru Tanigawa, which is interestingly told in the second person. It follows the namesake character, a high school student who is very interested in aliens, telekinesis, and other supernatural topics. She creates a school club dedicated to these things, but then strange and supernatural events start happening all around her, which are investigated by the club. Day of the Triffids. Day of the Triffids is a novel created in 1951 by John Wyndham. The book involves a species of plant known as a triffid. The plants, which were possibly genetically engineered by the Russians, are predatory and have the ability to walk, but they are widely farmed for their oil. One day, a strange meteor shower befalls London, and all who look at it are mysteriously stricken blind. Also, the Triffids have become violent, attacking everybody. A few survivors band together to survive. It faced mixed reviews, being called decent, clean, and derivative. Battletech. Battletech is a board game created in 1984 by Jordan Weissman, L. Ross Babcock III, and Sam Lewis. It is a war game set in a universe in which humanity lives in feudalism and various countries fight for control of a power vacuum recently created after the collapse of the Star League. The game follows a squad of mercenaries who utilize mech suits for purposes of combat. Mazinger Z. Mazinger Z is a manga created in 1972 by Go Nagai. It follows a robot pilot named Koji who has to use the robot to defend the planet from a mad scientist literally named Dr. Hell, who has his own forces of robots. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The Body Snatchers is a novel created in 1954 by Jack Finney. The book follows a sleepy town in California, which is infected by alien spores that can mimic the forms of a person and kill and replace people in their sleep, being indistinguishable from the original, besides the fact that they can't feel emotion. Level 5, Prokhor Zakharov. Battle Angel Alita. Battle Angel Alita is a manga created in 1990 by Yukito Kushido. It follows Alita, a cyborg who is found by a scientist named Ido, who trains her to be a warrior as she goes through the brutal world of a megacity called Tiferes. Fire Upon the Deep. Fire Upon the Deep is a novel created in 1992 by Werner Vinge. The novel is set in an extremely well fleshed out and intricate universe with many different plot points, making it hard to summarize. But the main thread is that human scientists have awoken an ancient and evil power on a long-forgotten planet, which has numerous consequences on the galaxy as it spreads. The Day the Earth Stood Still. Farewell to the Master is a short story created in 1940 by Harry Bates. It follows a reporter named Cliff who is in Washington, D.C. when a UFO lands, and an alien and his robot emerge. Spoiler alert. The robot is instantly shot and killed while trying to say hello because America. Scientists try to interact with the robot, but they bully him, so he crashes out and tries to resurrect the alien. At the end, it is revealed that, spoiler alert, the robot was the alien's master and not the other way around. Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Legend of the Galactic Heroes is a book series created in 1982 by Yoshiki Tanaka. 10 novels have since released. The book follows two officers, Reinhard and Young, on each side of the massive war between the Free Planets Alliance and the Galactic Empire, as they hone their military skills and define the ideologies of their factions. Lensman. Lensman is a book series created in 1937 by E. Doc Smith. It follows a war between the Galactic Patrol and the Boscone. It follows a man named Kimball, a lensman, who physically controls a super weapon with his thoughts, known as the lens, which he uses to fight in the war. The Space Trilogy. The Space Trilogy is a book series created in 1938 by Christian apologist and author of Narnia, C.S. Lewis. It follows a man named Elwyn as he travels throughout the solar system, exploring spiritual, ethical, and supernatural elements, including being kidnapped by Martians and other exploits. Homestuck. Homestuck is a webcomic created in 2009 by Andrew Hussey. It follows 4 children who download a supernatural video game which destroys the universe. They now have to create a new universe as if they were playing a sandbox video game. Honor Harrington. Honor Harrington is a book series created in 1992 by Eric Flint. 14 novels have since released. It follows a spaceship captain named Honor who fights in a war between the Star Kingdom of Manticore and the Republic of Haven. The books are about her rise through the military and basically follow her career. Worm. Worm is a book created in 2013 by John C. McCrae. It follows a lonely girl who develops superpowers to control worms, insects, and arachnids, becoming a superhero, but facing temptations to join the dark side and become a villain. The book explores themes of power, intentionality, and corruption. All You Need Is Kill. All You Need Is Kill is a novel created in 2004 by Hiroshi Sakurazaka. It follows a soldier who is trapped in a time loop by aliens and, to escape, must defeat the extraterrestrial threat in battle, which he relives every day. Snow Crash. Snow Crash is a novel created in 1992 by Neil Stephenson. Considered foundational to the cyberpunk subgenre, it follows a hacker who learns of a computer virus that attacks the human brain. The novel is most famous for its setting, a late 21st century megacity with highly advanced technology, but controlled almost completely by corporations with aesthetics of neon. The novel also coined the term metaverse to describe a virtual reality world that the residents spend time in. Alpha Centauri. Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri is a video game created in 1999 by Sid Meier and others. Set in the 22nd century, the game is very similar to the Civilization games, except instead of countries, there are 7 factions who have come to a planet in the Alpha Centauri system. Basically, the Earth has become uninhabitable, so the UN sent people there on a massive ship, but people being people, they split into said 7 factions and now compete for resources and land. Man in the High Castle. The Man in the High Castle is an old history novel created in 1962 by Philip K. Dick. Released only 17 years after the actual World War II, it follows the outcome of an alternate war which has complete Axis victory. The victory was so complete that somehow the United States has been completely conquered, featuring a Western Japanese occupation and Eastern Nazi occupation in a DMZ in the Rockies. Now, this is pretty unrealistic, but the story follows multiple characters in this world, and there's a guy called the Man in the High Castle who has videos taken from an alternate timeline in which the Allies won, which are very highly praised. Cat's Cradle. Cat's Cradle is a novel created in 1963 by Kurt Vonnegut. It follows a writer named John from Indiana who is writing about a nuclear scientist that worked on the Manhattan Project named Dr. Felix Honecker, who invented a material known as Ice-9, which, upon contact with any liquid, instantly freezes the entire thing permanently, spreading to every connected bit of water possible, destroying the world. In his research, he travels to a bizarre island nation known as San Lorenzo, which is the home of a new religion known as Bokononism, and a dictator hell-bent on fighting it. Tenshi Muyo. Tenshi Muyo was an anime created in 1992 by Masaki Kajishima, with an initial run of 6 episodes. It follows a high school boy named Masaki who accidentally frees a long-imprisoned space pirate named Ryoko, which attracts numerous aliens to his house as he becomes tangled in galactic drama and romance. The Egg. The Egg is a short story created in 2009 by Andy Weir. It has since gained even more fame after the YouTube channel Quartz Gazette produced an animated version in 2019. Narrated in the second person by a strange being, it is about a man who is dead and what he discovers after. Master of Orion. Master of Orion is a video game created in 1993 by Semtex and Two Time Interactive. It follows 10 alien species trying to control the galaxy, one of which, controlled by the player, will dominate through grand strategy, very similar to Stellaris. Transhuman Space. Transhuman Space is an RPG created in 2002 by David Pulver. It follows the human race in the year 2100 as they attempt to colonize many planets, and many of whom have fully embraced transhumanism, the idea of augmenting humans, and posthumanism, the idea of fully replacing humans. The Left Hand of Darkness. The Left Hand of Darkness is a novel created in 1969 by Ursula K. Le Guin. It follows a human diplomat named Genli Ai, who is sent to a snowball planet known as Gethen or Winter to convince their residents to join a galactic alliance. The species that inhabits Gethen change their sex hormones monthly, challenging Ai's idea of gender roles, which are very important to his society. There are also themes of political intrigue, war, and humanity. Perry Rodin. Perry Rodin is a book series created in 1961 by Walter Nenstring, Kate Shear, and Kurt Marr. Over 130 novels have since been released. Having sold over 2 billion copies, it is the most successful science fiction book series in world history. In the year 1971, a mission to the moon led by astronaut Perry Rodin discovers an alien species known as the Archonides. who grant Rodin and his crew immense technological power in exchange for medical assistance, which they use to, spoiler alert, end the Cold War. Level 6, Accelerando. Vorkosigan Saga. Vorkosigan Saga is a book series created in 1986 by Lois McMaster Bujold. The series follows an aristocrat named Miles Vorkosigan, a physically disabled but genius man who rises through the ranks with his military strategy and intelligence. Human X Commonwealth. Human X Commonwealth is a book series created in 1972 by Alan Dean Foster. 29 books have since released. It follows a galactic confederation made between humans and aliens called the Thranks, as they try to explore different planets and expand their territory. Schlock Mercenary. Schlock Mercenary is a webcomic created by Howard Taylor that ran from 2000 to 2020. It follows a mercenary group in the 31st century called Tagon's Toughs as they take on various tasks throughout the galaxy. The titular character is Sergeant Schlock, a polysilicate amorph, essentially a blob-shaped alien. Accelerando. Accelerando is a novel created in 2005 by Charles Stross. It contains multiple connected short stories as technology approaches the singularity. They follow the character of Manfred Max and his family throughout many years as they experience and adapt to rapidly improving technology modeled on Vinge's idea of the singularity. Childhood's End. Childhood's End is a novel created in 1953 by Arthur C. Clarke. It follows Earth being peacefully invaded by aliens who bring Earth into a utopian society, but we start to lose our culture and identity as a species, possibly a commentary on colonialism and the cultural cost of globalization. Solaris. Solaris is a novel created in 1961 by Stanisław Lem. It was also made into a film in 1972, which is considered to be a high point of communist cinema. It follows a man living on a station on a bizarre, spoiler alert, living and conscious planet, which toys with his mind using hallucinations of a past lover. The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. The Moon is a Harsh Mistress is a novel created in 1966 by Robert A. Heinlein. It has very American and libertarian themes, following the people of the Moon, a former penal colony, revolting against Earth rule to break free and create a new country. As an American, big if true. Permutation City. Permutation City is a novel created in 1994 by Greg Egan. It follows people in a future where Earth has been extremely destroyed by overdevelopment. Some people, to escape this, upload copies of their minds into a new digital world, kind of like an extreme version of Ready Player One, which came out 15 years later. Years and Years. Years and Years is a television show created in 2019 by Russell T. Davies. It follows a family in Manchester over 15 years from 2019 to 2034 as their world slowly falls apart around them, going from a flawed state to a failed state to abject dystopia. The scariest thing about the show is that everything is highly plausible and some of it seems downright likely. RUR. Rossum's Universal Robots is a play created in 1920 by Karl Čapek. It is most famous for introducing the word robot into English. It follows a factory that creates robots to serve humanity, but they eventually develop free will and, spoiler alert, rebel against humanity. Bolo. The Bolo universe is a fictional universe created in 1960 by Keith Laumer with the short story Combat Unit. It follows artificially intelligent tanks with varying levels of sentience known as Bolos as they engage in military strategy and battles. It covers time periods ranging from the 21st to 118th centuries. The tanks themselves range from a few hundred tons to 32,000 tons. Noon, 22nd Century. Noon, 22nd Century is a novel created in 1961 by Boris and Arkady Strugatsky. It follows two cosmonauts named Evgeny and Sergei, who time travel 100 years into the 22nd century, coming to a strange version of Earth. Like Samurai Jack, they struggle to integrate into the strange world, having numerous adventures along the way. The Difference Engine. The Difference Engine is an alt history novel created in 1990 by William Gibson and Bruce Sterling, considered to be foundational to the steampunk genre. It follows three characters, Sybil, Edward, and Lawrence, as they travel throughout a steampunk world transformed by Babbage's mechanical computer. In this world, everyone is searching for a box of punch cards, which they think can be used to cheat at gambling, but actually reveal mathematical truths. Blind Sight. Blind Sight is a novel created in 2006 by Peter Watts. It follows a human crew which has been tasked with contacting an alien presence in the Kuiper Belt. The aliens they find are extremely intelligent, but not conscious or sentient, forming a massive dynamic structure known as the Rorschach, leading the crew to question the benefits of free will and identity, and what actually constitutes intelligence. Dark Forest Trilogy. Remembrance of Earth's Past is a book trilogy created in 2006 by Liu Cixin. It contains 3 books, The Three-Body Problem, The Dark Forest, and Death's End. It has since been made into a successful Netflix show. It follows an alien civilization who plans to invade Earth, the reaction of humanity, trying to build defenses, and more. Eclipse Phase. Eclipse Phase is an RPG created in 2009 by Rob Boyle and Brian Cross. It is set in a post-apocalyptic world in which an AI called Titans destroyed the Earth after being hacked by aliens, causing people to spread throughout the solar system. Also, transhumanism is very popular in this world, and it follows an agency called Firewall that protects the species. Lex. Lex is a television show created in 1997 by Lex Gigeroff, Paul Donovan, and Michael Donovan. It follows the motley crew of an organic spaceship as they move across 2 alternate universes and steal a weapon known as the Lex, a giant sentient insect capable of destroying planets, essentially a conscious Death Star. Blam. Blam is a manga created in 1997 by Tsutsuma Nihei. It follows a cyborg named Killy as he travels through the megastructure, a sentient, incomprehensibly vast, self-replicating city that started as a Dyson sphere, now so large it covers much of the solar system, which hunts down any humans it finds inside. Killy's mission is to retrieve a MacGuffin known as the Net Terminal Gene, which would allow him to fix everything. To the Moon. To the Moon is a video game created in 2011 by Freebird Games. It follows 2 doctors who travel backwards in time through the memories of a dying man, in an attempt to insert a memory in which he accomplishes his dream of going to the moon, so that he believes he achieved his last wish. Level 7. The Wave Existence. Serial Experiments Lane. Serial Experiments Lane is an anime created in 1998 by Yoshitoshi Abe. It follows a middle school girl named Lane Iwakura who receives an email from a peer who had previously committed suicide. This draws her into the tangled web of a bizarre and hidden digital world known as the Wired, in which thoughts can flow completely freely and blurs the lines of reality and fiction. Flatland. Flatland, A Romance of Many Dimensions, is a novella created in 1884 by Edwin Abbott Abbott. Set in a 2-dimensional world, it follows a square named Square, who is visited by a 3-dimensional sphere, who challenges his perception of reality, although other people refuse to believe what they cannot see, possibly a metaphor for religion. Elite. Elite is a video game created in 1984 by David Braben and Ian Bell. It follows a spaceship pilot with a small bit of money. You then have to get more money and a better ship by doing trading, bounty hunting, piracy, and exploration. Space Brothers. Space Brothers is a manga created in 2007 by Chuya Koyama. Set in the near future, it follows two brothers, Mutta and Hibito, who both had a dream of becoming astronauts as children. Mutta does actually become an astronaut, and Hibito does not. After being fired from his previous job, he joins the astronaut school and completes training with his brother. Earth Defense Force. Earth Defense Force is a video game series created in 2003 by D3 publisher, UK's Vicious Cycle Software, Sandlot Games, Clouds, and ThinkArts. 6 mainline games have since released. It follows the Earth Defense Force as they fight against various alien invasions, a different alien in each game. Aeon Flux. Aeon Flux is a television series created in 1991 by Peter Chung. It is set in two city-states, the anarchist Monica and the totalitarian Bregna, which is led by a man named Trevor. It follows Aeon, an agent of Monica, who goes on espionage missions into Bregna, where she has a complex, often romantic and amoral relationship with Trevor. Adding to the surreal quality, almost every episode ends with Aeon's death, just for her to be back the next time. Zeeley Sequence. Zeeley Sequence is a book series created in 1991 by Stephen Baxter. It follows humanity's expansion into the universe over billions of years, and our wars with an incomprehensibly advanced black hole-dwelling alien species known as the Zeeley, who themselves fight a dark matter-composed species known as the Photino birds, which, to expand their habitat, seek to essentially turn off the fusion of every star in the galaxy. The humans have time travel, and the Zeeley have a megastructure called the Ring, which allows them to go to alternate universes. Starmaker. Starmaker is a novel created in 1937 by Olaf Stapledon. It follows a regular lad from England who astrally projects throughout space, seeing diverse alien civilizations and natural wonders, merging his consciousness with beings as he goes along, eventually joining into a massive collective consciousness, and eventually, spoiler alert, seeing the creator of the universe. Time Raiders. Daomu Biji is a Chinese novel series created in 2007 by Xu Lei. It follows a man named Xie who finds old notes about a group of grave robbers that encountered supernatural phenomena during their crimes, and then goes to discover the truth himself and put all the missing pieces together. Syndicate. Syndicate is a video game created in 1993 by Bullfrog Productions. Set in a world of corporations who use cyborg agents to carry out espionage, it follows the new CEO of Eurocore as you try to expand your global operations. Orion's Arm. Orion's Arm is a collaborative open-source world-building project created in 2000 by M. Alan Kozlov, Donna Malcolm Hirschkorn, Bernd Helfer, and Anders Sandberg. Anyone can add new work to the universe, and it is a very popular website. The setting spans from the year 2000 to 12,000. Most stories describe things within the Orion Arm of the Milky Way. Earth is an uninhabited backwater that, after humans were distributed elsewhere and everyone left on Earth was genocided by an AI. It's hard sci-fi, being very realistic and lacking faster-than-light travel, although there are some unproven things, such as exotic matter with negative mass. Gore. The Counter-Earth Saga is a book series created in 1966 by John Lange. 38 books have since released. It follows various plotlines on an invented planet called Gore, which exists in our solar system and has the exact orbit of Earth, but is positioned in such a way that it is always directly behind the sun and impossible to view. Some humans were brought to Gore by the priest kings of Gore, who are insectoid aliens. The Prisoner. The Prisoner is a television show created in 1967 by Patrick McGowan. It follows a British agent known as Number 6 who quits his job and is then imprisoned by a strange community called The Village, which you cannot leave and under constant surveillance. Nobody can use their names, but only the numbers they are assigned. Everyone else in the village seems complacent, but Number 6 tries to resist. All Tomorrows. All Tomorrows is a book created in 2006 by C.M. Kosman. It follows humanity over the course of 1 billion years as we are genetically mangled by a malicious alien species known as the Q and split into many different artificial species who slowly re-evolve sentience, die out, or become something completely unrecognizable. The book is free online and it's only 128 pages, half of which are illustrations, so you can read the whole thing in like an hour and a half. Also, apparently Coastman is working on an expanded edition, which will be like 2.5 times as long, so everyone's very hyped for that. Freefall. Freefall is a book series created in 2016 by Felix R. Savage. It follows a first contact scenario in which an abandoned-looking alien spaceship is seen near Jupiter, so even amongst budget cuts, NASA rushes to build a ship to contact it peacefully or destroy it to protect Earth, and the astronauts sent have the fate of the world in their hands. Strontium Dog. Strontium Dog is a comic series created in 1978 by John Wagner and Carlos Ezquerra. Set about 50 years after a nuclear apocalypse in 2150, it follows a mutant bounty hunter named Johnny Alpha with the powers of mind reading and X-ray vision, and his various partners as they hunt different antagonists every issue. MUVLUV. MUVLUV is a video game created in 2003 by Age Anker Fazen Age. Part 1 of the game is a visual novel romantic comedy following a lad named Takeru who has to choose between two girls named Maya and Sumika. Then, for some reason, Part 2 transitions to an alternate reality in which humanity is locked in a war with alien invaders known as Beta, still following Takeru, but this time as a soldier who has to learn the realities of desperate war. Love is the plan is death. Love is the plan is death is a short story created in 1973 by Alice Sheldon. It follows an alien creature of middling intelligence, probably less so than human, but more than any other Earth animal, named Magadit, in their infatuation with an abandoned baby named Lily Lou, who tries to overcome their cannibalistic instincts through love. It has a very unique style of narration, and ending hits, I'll just say. Manifold. Manifold is a book series created in 1999 by Stephen Baxter. It is set on an omniverse known as the Manifold, which contains several universes, exploring the Fermi paradox, extinction, and the nature of humanity. In the first book, a man named Reed finds a portal to escape a doomed Earth, taking him to, spoiler alert, the future in which humanity has abandoned physical form and lives as computer entities. The second book follows him as he meets with an alien civilization, and in the third book he explores parallel universes. The fourth book is a short story collection. Numenera. Numenera is an RPG created in 2013 by Monte Cook. It is set on Earth 1 billion years from the present, known as the Ninth World, where humanity is still chilling at medieval technology level, although 8 highly advanced civilizations have come and gone. You then explore the artifacts left behind, which are known as the Numenera and hold intense power. Xenogears. Xenogears is a video game created in 1998 by Square, which is considered to have uniquely terrible gameplay even when era adjusted. It follows a man named Fei Fong Wong who got amnesia and then woke up in a world torn apart by chronic war, fought with giant robots, and then gradually uncovers a conspiracy from a group known as Solaris, which could threaten humanity. Anathem. Anathem is a novel created in 2008 by Neil Stephenson. Set on a pseudo-dystopian society, all smart people, who call themselves the Avowed, have holed themselves up in monasteries called consents, where they study all day. It follows an Avowed named Fra, who leaves the consent and discovers an alien threat which he must find a way to prevent. Bria/Solar Cycle. The Solar Cycle, or Bria Cycle, is a book series created in 1980 by Gene Wolfe. Set in the far future, humanity has abandoned Earth long ago, and it has been so long that the sun is finally dimming in the sky. It follows a man named Severian, a professional torturer, who returns to the decaying Earth and encounters many things on his journey. Things to Come. The Shape of Things to Come is a novel created in 1933 by H.G. Wells. It is a future history going until the year 2106. Essentially, there's a massive war in the 1950s that will bring humanity into a dark age, but a cabal of pilots and airstrip technicians locked in and create a utopia. Helicopter Story. I Sexually Identify as an Attack Helicopter is a short story created in 2020 by Isabel Fall. Set in the near future, the U.S. Army is fighting against a rogue AI known as the Paramesa Budget Committee. A soldier with the call sign of Barb has her gender reassigned by the Army to attack helicopter. The story explores themes of sexuality and gender. It was called transphobic by many, although Fall herself transgender denies this interpretation. Level 8. Deep Rise. Neuroshima. Neuroshima is an RPG created in 2003 by Ignacy Terspezek and Marcin Blacha. The game is set in a post-apocalyptic United States that was destroyed by a nuclear war after a machine revolt led by an AI named Moloch. You have to survive amongst numerous factions, such as the Southern Gangs, the Mutant Army, the Machines, the Scientists, in New York City. Space Rangers. Space Rangers is a television show created in 1993 by Pendantium. It follows a police department led by Captain John Boone on the frontier of a deep space planet called Avalon, as they deal with various criminals and threats. True History. True History, or A True Story, is a novel created in the 2nd century AD by Lucian of Samosata. It follows a group of travelers on an ocean expedition who are taken into the sky by divine wind and visit fantastical locations such as the moon and sun, a whale, and the underworld, all of which have their own civilizations. They interestingly intervene in a war between the Moon King Endymion and the Sun King Phaeton, who are both trying to colonize Venus. It is considered by many to be the first work of science fiction. Galaxy on Fire. Galaxy on Fire is a video game created in 2005 by Fishlaz. It follows a mercenary named Keith who finds himself in a war between the Terran Alliance and Vosk Empire. After the death of a comrade, his ultimate goal becomes tracking down a traitor named Vlad Borsakov. Fine Structure. Fine Structure is a novel created in 2021 by Sam Hughes. It follows multiple perspectives, including scientists such as Qingyu Huang, who have discovered what is referred to as the Rosetta Stone of physics, and survivors in a post-apocalyptic world, the book slowly revealing how the different narratives connect. Serena. Serena is a world-building project created in 2015 by Dylan Baida. It is a speculative evolution project. The premise being that the moon of a gas giant was terraformed and seeded with life as an experiment by mysterious creators, implied to be humans from the future, to study evolution. Only 7 species of vertebrates are added to the world, the domestic canary and 6 species of small aquarium fish, along with various insects, plants, and others. The project follows the moon over the course of 295 million years, as these species evolved to fill every environmental niche one could think of. Dolls of New Albion. The Dolls of New Albion, a steampunk opera, is a musical created in 2002 by Paul Shapira. Set in a steampunk city called New Albion, the musical of 4 acts follows 4 generations of one family as they utilize technology in different ways. The technology is that you can resurrect dead people by putting their soul into mechanical bodies called dolls. Io. Io is a film created in 2019 by Jonathan Halpert and follows a scientist named Sam who has stayed on a toxic Earth after most people have moved to the moon Io. Her goal is to try to find a way to fix the situation, and she finds a man named Micah, but they have a conflict over what is a realistic solution at this point. Nebula Maker. Nebula Maker is a novel created in the 1930s by Olaf Stapledon, discovered and posthumously published in 1976. It follows an observer as they see the universe being created, featuring sentient nebulae which form societies and wars, serving as a mirror for human history. Florinite. Florinite is a stream of consciousness book created in 2014 by Nostalgia Brest. It is less a coherent novel and more a, quote, semi-coherent regurgitation of thoughts with characters and a plot. Essentially, 20 minutes in the future, scientists discover that the soul exists and that you can split it like the atom to harness vast amounts of energy. This leads them to create a secret research organization which also stops soul-based creatures from the seafloor from reaching the surface as they pose a threat to humanity. The Nightland. The Nightland is a novel created in 1912 by William Hope Hodgson. Set in the far, far future, the remnants of humanity live in a giant period. The world is in eternal darkness, the sun having died out millions of years ago, and the world is also beset by extra-dimensional monsters. It follows a squire who must rescue the reincarnation of his dead lover using a telepathic link. How Many Light Years to Babylon? How Many Light Years to Babylon is a manga created in 2017 by Simon Duman. It follows a lad from Earth named Bob who got amnesia and woke up in space, being informed that Earth was since destroyed. He learns what happens to Earth in more detail as he goes through several universes and romances an alien female. Heaven Will Be Mine. Heaven Will Be Mine is a video game created in 2018 by Worst Girls Games and Pillow Fight. Set in an alternate and more advanced 1980s in which humanity is split into three groups trying to conquer space, it follows one of three pilots who have complex, emotional, and possibly romantic relationships with one another. Zap'em. Zap'em is a video game created in the late 1990s or early 2000s by Cyrus Dolph. It follows a hero who investigates an abandoned spaceship for, quote, the most powerful artifact in the galaxy. It's a roguelike and created entirely from ASCII art. It's apparently low quality as, quote, the game is free and frankly you're getting what you pay for. Seiho Project. Seiho Project is a video game series created in 1998 by Shunsatsu Saredo. 3 games have since released. Set on a future Earth without most plants, humans rely on cacti. It follows a robotic maid named Vivit, who is sent on errands and interrupted by combat encounters. Hello Charlotte. Hello Charlotte is a video game series created in 2015 by Etherain. It follows Charlotte, a girl who lives in a mysterious house called The House with aliens. In the first game, Charlotte is assigned to babysit the boy Felix and, spoiler alert, gets trapped with him inside the television dimension from which they must escape. 5 games have since released. The Devil and Simon Flagg. The Devil and Simon Flagg is a short story created in 1954 by Arthur Porges. It follows a math professor named Dr. Flagg, who bet with the devil that Satan won't be able to solve Fermat's last theorem in 24 hours. Flagg, spoiler alert, wins the bet, but the Prince of Lies has become drawn into the problem. The Flagg, having already wasted years trying to solve it, joins him. Edison Conquers the Martians. Edison's Conquest of Mars is a novel created in 1898 by Garrett P. Serviss. Serving as an unofficial sequel to War of the Worlds, it follows prominent contemporary inventor Thomas Edison as he leads a counterattack on Mars. This would be a bit like if someone wrote a fanfiction sequel to Independence Day where Elon Musk becomes top general and launches an attack on the aliens out of revenge. 0 times 10 to the C. 0 times 10 to the C is an unfinished video game created in 2012 by Marcus Persson. It would have been a 3D open-world sandbox set in the year 281,474,976,712,644 AD on a spaceship that humanity accidentally woke up from cryosleep on. Apparently, it would have featured an online element and a programmable 16-bit computer. Trisselmeisten Trilogy. Unicorn Jelly is a manga created in 2000 by Jennifer Diane Reitz. It follows a slime creature, or jelly, named Kei, who either by miracle or science transforms into a unicorn, and it goes into the Jelly Society. It also contains many universes, so many that they are categorized into classes and have their own taxonomy. Trisselmeisten is one of these universes and home to a spin-off. Deep Noble / Deep Rise. Deep Rise is an interactive webcomic created in 2013 by Morgan J. Heacock. It follows 3 members of a race called the Nobles, coral-based lifeforms that are immortal and live underground. Horrifyingly, they use biological technology derived from humans. Signal and Noise / Conscious Human Souls. Human Souls or Signal and Noise is an ARG created in 2016 by Pangent Technologies. It follows a man and a woman whose souls have been uploaded into a computer before their deaths. The many mysteries of the story were solved in 2021 by various Tumblr users. Well, that was it. Let me know if you want any more of this. More icebergs. Goodbye. God loves you.